Thank you. Okay, agenda item 5.3.
Yes, Madam. This is a developer request to amend the agreement between the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Fort Myers and Cedar River at Fort Myers Allure for the development of 2589 and 2595 First Street, Fort Myers, Florida. There is a motion before you, and essentially what the request is in simple terms is to take the TIF that was to be divided between two towers and place all of the money that was on the second tower along with the money that was already on Tower 1 onto Tower 1, so that effectively the entire $15 million that was allocated between two towers would now be on Tower 1. I want to point out a couple of things before this goes to Ms. Strayhorn for discussion. First is that this is not a recommended motion. To be clear, the staff does not recommend this motion at all. And the reasons are going to be made clear to you because I want to make sure that I at least give you the right advice. The first one is that, as you will see, and I appreciate you giving me the presentation in advance, when she goes through the presentation, unless it's been added in the last few hours, there will be no slide saying that this complies with Florida statutes, because it does not. This is one of those legacy projects that we've talked about before, where if you look at the statute and what it allows you to spend money on, you will not find a hotel or a tower, any of that. So that's a problem, and you had said to us as staff that when you have an opportunity to not compound prior acts, that you would take advantage of that opportunity. This is one such opportunity. Secondarily, and this is sort of I'm trying to bring humor to a situation, but my dad used to have a saying, and he said, son, the chances of this happening are slim and none, and Slim just left town. Well, what I'm here to tell you is, if you think that Tower 2 will get built after you put all of the money on Tower 1, the chances of that are slim and none, and Slim just left town. So you should understand this as a consumer, because one of the things I try to do to educate CRAs is you are a consumer of goods and services, and you're to consume those services in a way that makes sense publicly to get the best bang for your buck. And if you do that here, you are essentially, if you do what's being asked for here, you're essentially doing the opposite of 2 for 1. You're getting 1 for the price of 2. And that should give you pause. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Strayhorn.
For the record, Megan Strayhorn. I'm an attorney with Strayhorn and Persons Mullica here in beautiful downtown Fort Myers. And I thank you, Mr. Shepard, for your detailed opinion and recommendation. I do have a couple of points that I would like to counter regarding that. This is an existing agreement. This is an existing agreement with Cedar River at Fort Myers, LLC. The agreement dates back to September 2015. And at the time, the CRA found that a public purpose did exist. I can forward this to the slide. My apologies. Did find that a public purpose did exist, and found that the plan, that the development was consistent with the plan and with the statutes. When we are reevaluating an existing agreement, we're looking at the laws in place at the time that the agreement was executed, and therefore, in my opinion, it is still lawful to be amending it. The amendment before you today is not a substantive amendment, if I may. It's a minimal amendment, so the obligations that are currently under the agreement remain the same. That is, and let me go backwards so I can pull up the existing agreement. The existing agreement for Tower 1 is awarded 85% of the taxes generated would be rebated back to the developer for a total of 8.5 for Tower 1, and Tower 2 generates at a generation rate of 65% of generated taxes, up to $6.5 million. What the request before you today is to keep it at the 85%, so the CRA would still retain that 15% and consolidate the 8.5 and 6.5 into Tower 1. So that is a true assessment that this is a request to essentially to consolidate the total rebate into Tower 1. And the idea behind it is that as the CRA has been progressing, the property values, particularly in the downtown area, have been skyrocketing, have been increasing at a higher rate than once thought. So the idea is to allow this development to come to fruition, the existing commitment, and this is an existing agreement, would allow for Tower 1 to be built, and then as Tower 1 comes on and the property's taxes continue to escalate and generate, that will allow for Tower 2 to come on, and ideally without an increment rebate for that Tower 2. Now, I would like to touch on a couple other items. So just as a reminder, this property is located on First Street. It is right next to 1, which is under construction, and although the property owner is Cedar River, the property owner developer is Jaxie. So as you all are well aware, Jaxie is currently under construction on 1, and I'm going to forward to, it is a vacant parcel now, but what's interesting is here, this is a picture of the vacant parcel of Allure, but if you drive down First Street today, it's not going to look like that because it's currently being used for staging for the 1 development. Jaxie also has several other developments in the works currently. So not only is there Allure, which is in front of you all today, there are the Royal Palm Towers, which is working with Mainsail, as well as the Irving, which is working with Mainsail. And then, of course, there's 1 which is currently under construction as we speak. I do want to, we already addressed the existing conditions or the existing agreement. There are pertinent sections from the agreement. The agreement does allow for amendments to be requested, and there has already been a finding that it is consistent with the statutes and consistent with the plan. Because this is not changing any obligations of the CRA, we are instead just requesting for a combination of the 2 awards. I do want to briefly go through what this development is. This development, Allure, has always been deemed a condominium type of development. I do have Eduardo here present who can explain this a little bit further. Right now it's going to be presented as a multifamily rental, but then as apartments get filled or get leased, then they will open up a sales office in order to hope to have a mixture of both rentals as well as purchasing. There are some public areas on, this is a kind of a rendering of what the development will look like. So there will be a liner building on fronting First Street, which will conceal the parking garage, which will be in front of the residential towers. There are points that I would like to point out which do provide public purpose for this parcel. So as you can see on the site plan, on the eastern portion, there is a linear park, and included in that linear park, this will be a public area. There will be high-speed internet available, Wi-Fi internet available for all of the public areas of this parcel. There are proposed shade areas, and maybe a proper term would be rain coverage. So for those pedestrians that are walking either from their residence down to downtown or just enjoying the sights of First Street, they'll be able to hide under that rain shelter that is provided. Now, although the case law is very clear that, how do I put this, or how do I articulate this? Although the case law is very clear that imposing river walks or public access easements is considered technically a taking, the developer and property owner here is still providing a river walk. As can be seen on the kind of portion, on the western portion, there is a river walk that will extend out and will be accessed through the middle of the property and over to the side. I believe there were attempts to try and bring that along the eastern, but because of the infrastructure, because of the seawall, it's unable to extend along the entire property line. But there will be a river walk presented on the western portion, so that'll be accessible to the public and allow for public infrastructure. As well as, I do want to touch on some of the provisions that Mr. Shepard just touched on. There are provisions in Florida statutes. Now again, this agreement was dated 2015, so prior to the legislative changes made in 2019. When we were reviewing the statutes, the case law, the jurisprudence, the AG opinions largely will show you that the analysis really turned on whether or not there was a public purpose to justify these types of agreements. And that has already been found to exist in this case. However, what is necessarily involved with construction is also site improvements, raising the site, filling the site, providing water management surfaces, utilities, and similar items such as that. Those are enumerated in Chapter 163, 387 as eligible qualifying expenses. This is a picture of what the the linear park area is proposed to look like. So lots of vegetation, green space, open, welcoming. The development has already been found to be consistent with the plan back from 2010. However, the downtown plan you all recently amended, and it included much wider areas. So the downtown plan has then been expanded, I should say. And it is still consistent with the plan that was in place at the creation of the agreement, as well as the plan which is in place today. What's interesting about this was originally planned for the 2 towers, which is still the plan. But the costs of construction have increased so dramatically from 2015 until today that the cost of the entire development is now what the cost is for just that Tower 1. So the construction cost will largely remain the same except for what used to be the cost for the construction of the entire site is going to be the cost of what JAXI will incur to construct that Tower 1. And what's interesting is when you're reviewing projected taxes, it'll still have the same benefit, or the CRA will still have the same benefit. So interestingly enough, this property value as it stands today was only valued, according to the LIPA, for $1 million. So currently, the CRA is getting roughly between $9,000 and $10,000 from this vacant property as is. By allowing this agreement, this amendment to go through, it will allow the development to come to fruition and increase the property values and the generated taxes exponentially. Now, I provided a very, very, very basic conservative estimate regarding these taxes. So by the way that I handled this was taking the construction cost provided by the client, as well as adding the land cost, and then taking 85% of that, which gives you the assessed value, which is kind of a starting point. So assuming that the property's value does not increase, which is a hard assumption to make, but assuming it does not increase, the CRA would still be left with roughly over $100,000 per year as a result of this development. And the only way that this development can come forward and come out of the ground is through approving this amendment request. Now, the CRA, you all recently approved and extended the downtown plan, or expanded, I should say, because the downtown ends in 2044. And there are a number of capital projects included in that plan. Now, I did not go through and include every single capital project, but I tried to identify a few in all the different areas that this particular project, the taxes generated from Allure, could be utilized by the CRA to assist. So these include items such as green infrastructure, undergrounding utilities, creating sidewalks, sidewalk infills. There's quite a bit of streetscape work that is proposed and included in the plan. One of the items is a City of Palms Park mobility hub, which would be $600,000. More sidewalk infill, $500,000. Now, it would take a few years for the property to generate enough funds to help fund these items, but it's one way to ensure that the downtown will increase and provide more revenue in order to really fulfill the goals that are included in your downtown redevelopment plan. We are asking for the 85% to remain the same, and we are asking for the 2 phases, the Tower 1 and Tower 2, to be consolidated into Tower 1 to allow for the $15 million rebate to be associated with Tower 1. I do have Eduardo here if there are any further questions, or if there was any item that you wanted to expand on. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Strayhorn. We have a statement from Commissioner Giraldo by the clerk.
The original agreements are 2 towers in 2 phases, with different rebates offered 11 years ago under different circumstances. As I understand and appreciate the position of the applicant subjectively as a business, I do not believe this is a minor amendment or transfer or assignment. The updated request is asking us for the 95% to one tower, basically transferring the original agreement and getting one for the price of two. This conflicts with our duty and obligation to follow the Florida statute changes of 2019 and our responsibility for compliance to this substantial update and asked to the CRA Commission. The CRA has an updated plan for downtown. The application should keep the 2015 agreement and follow the updated plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to know when you expect Allure 1 to start being built out.
I'll allow Eduardo to answer the timing questions.
Good morning, Commissioner. For the record, Eduardo Caballero, on behalf of the developer, Cedar Rivera Fort Myers, and Jaxi Builders. Thank you, Commissioner, for the opportunity. We have been dealing with this for 11 years to try to make it. More important for us is we have full commitment. We have been keeping the property, adding entitlements, investing, paying taxes, and look for the most convenient way at the right timing to break ground. In that order, we paid an additional fees to the architect to bring up to the code. All the plans were submitted back to the city. We pay upfront fee close to $500,000 already. And we get a commitment letter from a lender, which is Hodgson Realty Finance, that will allow us to make plans to break ground in that property for the Tower 1 within the next 2 years, as soon as we secure permits and all the rest of the entitlement that in the process to be completed.
So with all of the other properties that you have that are coming on board, you're saying you'll be able to break ground in 2 years with this property?
That is the plan right now. And we were able to get a commitment letter from a lender to support breaking ground as soon as we secure the building permits. Actually, it's a good question. We have one under construction. It took more than everybody was expecting, but here we are. Moving forward, we are breaking ground in the Riverline Marriott Hotel within the next 30 days.
So what has changed in 11 years that you couldn't do it in 2015, that now in 2026?
Our resilience and persistence to get it done is being tough, difficult market to deal with, but we are fully committed. And our game plan is not only build Tower 1, is in the short future, be able to develop the second tower. As Megan said, the combination, because of the cost increase in construction at today's day, the asset value at the end of the day, combine the two TIF in one tower, it will be ended up being the same tax rebate and property value we generate to the CRA in the short future. As we said, $100,000 per year. And within the time frame when it's completed and the TIF is recapped to the developer, it will be close to $1 million if the property value doesn't increase at all for the city. And we wanted to make it. We have been in the making for a couple of years, and we are fully committed to get it done. And our game plan, I wish I could have the crystal ball with me, but I don't want to lie. We need to overcome difficult conditions in the market to get where we are. If we are lucky to get the support from the city, we are 100% committed to break ground within the next 2 years.
Okay, anybody have a question?
There's 2 points here, the objective and subjective. Does the law apply to this? Are we within the law's standards?
I believe you're going to get two differing opinions
you
on
are.
this. So, in my opinion, when we are looking at an existing contract, we're looking at the laws in place at the time that the contract was executed. So we're looking at the laws in place in 2015. As you all are aware, 163, it was either 370 or 387. I always get a book.
387.
387 was changed in 2019. So we're looking at the law in place in 2015. Regarding that, This was already found to be consistent with the statutes. It was already found to be consistent with the redevelopment plan and area, and nothing has changed to change that. However, when reviewing today's laws and today's eligibility criteria, if you will, there are still eligible expenses that will need to be incurred. For example, clearing the site, raising the site, filling the site, providing water management, flooding in that area is a problem. So a necessary step before vertical construction must start are site improvements. Now, under Florida Statute 163, 370, and 387, those are items which are eligible expenses. Interestingly enough, as previously handled by this agency, developers have been awarded rebates. Now, maybe the eligibility costs haven't been enumerated exactly as they are today, but arguably speaking, this $15 million, now I don't have the construction costs right in front of me, so please don't quote me, but the costs associated with the site improvement are going to be quite expensive because this is on the riverfront. There are things that need to be handled in order to even handle the vertical construction. So to answer your question, in my opinion, yes.
May I also respond since I'm your attorney? Here's the answer.
Yes,
no,
sir.
it's not okay. And I'll explain to you why. This is the statute from 2015, the one she cited. And I'm going to read it directly so we have no confusion about what it says. This is under 163-387-6. Monies in the redevelopment trust fund may be expended from time to time for undertakings of a community redevelopment agency as described in the community redevelopment plan for the following purposes. And this is the language that ultimately changed, including but not limited to. That doesn't exist anymore. But as to the specific things that were authorized, specifically authorized, they were administrative and overhead expenses, expenses of redevelopment planning, surveys, financial analysis, and so forth, the acquisition of real property, the clearance and preparation of redevelopment area for redevelopment and relocation of occupants within or outside of a community redevelopment area, the repayment of principal and interest on any redemption premium for loans, advances, bonds, bond anticipation notes, and other form of indebtedness. Expenses incidental to or connected with the issuance or sale or redemption or retirement or purchase of bonds. The development of affordable housing. The development of community policing innovations. And none of that sounds like 2 towers and a hotel. So all that you can point to here is the including but not limited to language. And that was in 2015 with $2015. These are $2026, not $2015. So what you're being asked to do is apply old law under some broad language of including but not limited to, but certainly nothing specific. And you're asking me to do it with current dollars when you have the ability and the right contractually to say no. And you ask your staff to tell you when that opportunity came up so you could say no. This is that opportunity.
Continuing, should this end up in court, who would be the plaintiff?
Oh, who would be the plaintiff? It's a contract where you have a right to say no. So they could sue, but they will lose. And that's not me braggadocio. That's a guarantee. They wouldn't be asking you if they had a right to it.
So now go to the subjective side. We were a lot of speculation of one tower built, the other one won't get built. That's speculation, and that's emotional kickback. So we don't know. We have to have good faith that this, living so long in the East Coast and Puerto Rico, things get done when the money's there. The market dictates reality, not speculations. So, Megan, did you say yes, we're getting a river walk, or no, we're getting a river walk?
Yes, there will be a river walk.
Okay.
Yes. And there's going to be the construction of a new seawall or continuation of the seawall. So this site, I understand that Mr. Shepard keeps referencing the vertical construction, but there are eligible expenses which are eligible under the statute as well, under the current statute and under the old statute, which provides for the clearance of land, site improvement, and things of that nature. Since this is a riverfront property, there will be necessarily site improvement required in order to effectuate the vertical construction.
Commissioner Bond.
I've got a question for Eduardo. let's assume the statute is the same. You're not gonna break ground for 2 years. The cost of construction is estimated to go up at least 30% over the next 5 years. You don't have the money to do it now. How are you gonna have the money to do it in 2 years?
Basically, we have been dealing with difficult conditions. One of them was the moratorium for the water to the side, and second one, what happened in November 2022, FEMA changed finish floor elevation because of the weather conditions, and now we got to incur in additional almost $3 million more with the additional seawall to raise the property to 10 feet finish floor elevation. And regarding your question about how we are going to count with the equity to pay part of our investment in that property, we have several business plans with financial performance that allow to do that. One of them, it will be we will go into the market in pre-construction environment. We are going to secure financing as a multifamily building without any precondition in sales. But through the construction, we may go and offer unit for sale in a condominium environment that allow us to capture 30% of the deposit from buyers that help us in our equity participation within the 60/40 loan that we get a commitment letter. And other one is we have a firm commitment with our equity investors to support whatever gap may be in the construction cost at that time. I answered your question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think that, hold on a second, and I think one of the amendments for the delay where we approved a further date out for commencement, the issue of combining this TIF came up at that discussion, and we agreed to keep it at both towers for the assurability that both towers were going to get built, and you weren't just going to build one tower and then flip it. So while it is speculative, there were things that we wanted to put into play to make sure that both towers got built. So I just wanted to remind us of that.
Keep in mind, in that regard, we have been 11 years in the process, and the more participation and the equity in the property is to develop. That's the main purpose and the main goal. We don't have been holding property for 11 years, paying taxes, maintenance, and all of that, without a clear objective to build, to develop. Otherwise, we will put the property back in the market for sale, and we will look for something else because it doesn't work. We are working to make it work, and where we have our business goal is to develop the full property. We have been adding entitlement. Even the architect firm, Bermelo Ayamil, were paid $50,000 a month ago to start developing the second tower plans. Meaning, as soon we secure building permit that it was submitted a while ago, and it's in the second review process, we are able to submit to start just the permitting process for the tower 2. We cannot guarantee at this time that we will build that tower at the same time. It will be really convenient for us as a developer to reduce general condition costs, GC fees, and having more purchase power, combining the two towers than a single tower. But the market won't have the strength to absorb at the right pace the two towers simultaneously. It would be crazy idea. We may end up having a white elephants baking because the market is not there. It's not there yet.
And I certainly understand that from a business perspective, no question. The concern, though, for us has to be to protect the interests of the city and making sure that we are doing things now the way that they need to be done from a statutory standpoint, and also to ensure that things actually get developed downtown. So I certainly understand your standpoint and don't judge you for it in any way at all. I just want to make sure that we are honoring what our responsibility is, which is the city.
Personally, we don't take it, and we perfectly understand. My answer to your concern, that will be the city is getting more now than it was before. if we develop Tower 1, at the end of the day, assess value within the property taxes will be at least similar or equal what is supposed to be for the two towers, and become a real project. And that's something we generate additional 200 plus jobs through the construction time, an additional 20 to 30 permanent jobs to the city, and we'll be generating $100,000 per year until we catch up the TIF, and thereafter close $1 million to the city. And that's something that we are committed to make it. If the commissioners allow us to get combined both TIF, we continue working together to make that happen, and looking forward for the next tower depending on market condition at that time. But financially, I think that it will be a good decision to make for the city, helping and supporting that Tower 1 really happen within the next 2 years.
So I have a question. So if Tower 1 is built and Tower 2 is not, the city will still gain as much as both of them being built?
The answer is yes.
That's the question I want to know.
Yes, and in the worst case scenario, if the property value doesn't increase through that period of time, the city will be getting exactly the same amount, and that's something that it happens.
So you're saying with the two towers, if only just the first one is being built, the city would still gain as much as if both of them were built?
We were supposed to build, yeah.
Okay,
The answer is yes.
that's the only question I need.
Commissioner Burson.
Good morning. My question is, what if the second tower is never built? We've doubled up the money into one tower, and we're only getting one. So what guarantee do I have that the second tower will be built?
Good question, Commissioner Burson, and thank you for the opportunity to give our opinion. Keep in mind that property have entitlements in place. It already have a pile system built, done, which account for $5 million. In order to be able to overcome the situation with the FEMA finish for elevation, we got to invest close to $3 million to complete the entire seawall. And to get access to the public, to the river board, we need to build the linear park as well. That requires capital investment in a large amount, and that will be added value to the property. If we successfully build Tower 1, we have a bigger chances that Tower B will happen. If we don't build Tower A, most likely none of that is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's a ladder. You need to step up one by one. We don't want to be a do crazy thing that at the end of the day, instead of helping the entire real estate market and helping the city, put in jeopardy the city and the developer as well.
Well, let me ask you this. With the construction costs that have risen so dramatically over the last 11 years, why not just make out a new application and ask for additional money to reflect the current costs instead of going back to 2015? You know, you're making it complicated by doing something 11 years old, and if the construction costs have risen so dramatically, why not ask for more money based on the new cost?
Commissioner Burson, good point, really good point. I think that I should add that to Mr. Shepard. He totally opposed. Our initial intention was to request in a fair way what is needed for both towers, but instead of fight that we don't want it to be, believe me, it is not comfortable for us being in front of you asking for support, cooperation. If it wasn't needed, we won't be here. It's not reward, no need for this. We need your help, support, and the city continues supporting the wealth growth of the city.
No, but I'm just saying, if you're entitled to more money, why not ask for more money?
Because it looks like in the new regulation, and based on our legal opinion from the council, it is not possible to get now because the legislation changed. And the final decision made to facilitate and make feasible Tower A is to get what Tower A need and play later on to see what we could get and what could be done for Tower B.
Well, then let me ask you this. What guarantees do I have that Tower B will ever get started? And what would that timeline be?
Depends on Tower A.
Good question. Unfortunately, I do not have the crystal ball to predict or forecast the market 100% accurate. But as soon the market is mature, as soon Tower A get the percentage of occupancy or sales needed to become a successful development, for sure Tower B will go thereafter. As I mentioned, in Tower B site, it will be a big investment amount and no reason at all for not developing that property. It would be crazy that development that never happened there when it have all the entitlements, it will have full set of drawing. What I could commit with you and in front of the other commissioners is the full set of development plans, construction document for Tower B will be 100% completed. That account for a close $1 million in architectural fees and be submitted to the city to start processing the building permit for that tower. And when the market get there and we successfully get award what we're requesting and we break ground, Tower B most likely will happen.
Well, you know, you have to understand, you're asking for $15 million. In a way, we are becoming a minority partner in your project. Because you're saying without our 15 million, you can't do it.
No.
So I need some type of guarantee that my 15 million will be insured. Let's just say, what would be the penalty if the second tower is not built within a certain time frame?
I perfectly understand your concern. You are totally right in that regard. I am giving you some points to take in consideration that we are working really hard, really diligently to make things happen. I don't feel in a sense that a penalty, it could be first for, as you mentioned to us, being a partners with the city. I think that we continue working together and listen a different point of view option where it's completely fair for both parties, which is the case to the city and the developer. Continue helping things that's gonna happen. Things are gonna happen, and the sooner the better for all, not only for the city, for us. You are a big partner for us, no minority partner. It's really important. Without your cooperation, nothing that is happening in the city could be happening. Because it's market condition, it's market perception, it's decision, it's financial strength in the country that sometimes require a strong decision, wise decision to make things happen. What I could guarantee you is that we will continue working in that direction. We continue investing. We are going to submit the full set of drawing for the second tower with the city. Most likely we got to pay another $500,000 that we already paid for phase one, just upfront fee to make things continue alive and moving in that direction. Our main goal, and the only time where we are going to see a positive result of our commitment and long-term investment when that tower is built. Otherwise, we will have sitting there a big chunk of money, a couple of good $1 million sitting there, paying taxes, maintenance, and all of that without any return in a short term. And we are 100% committed.
I understand that, but yeah, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I hate to use that phrase, but
if I may,
good intentions is
me give you a
effort.
Commissioner Bonk.
I just want to ask Cliff to restate again. I know we're trying to go back to what was the agreement as it is 2015, but
Right.
we're not in 2015.
That's correct.
And where we're talking about, well, the benefit to the city for Tower 1 doesn't matter the benefit if it's not done through the right channels. And so can you just restate again the impact of even considering this motion?
Sure. Well, the first thing, impact is a hard thing to say, because one of the things I'll note, when I first came here, one of the features of your grants was that you had an independent financial analysis that would verify and confirm the information that was being fed to you by the developer. You have none of that here. You have nobody. What you have is a developer at the platform, I'm sure giving his best idea about what the future will hold, but you have zero financial analysis that says any of this is true. That's the first thing. The second thing that you don't have is you've been told accurately that under the current version of the law, that there are things that you could pay for, which is absolutely true, such as ground clearing. But you have no evidence before you how much that's cost, and I'm pretty sure it's not 15 million. So the downfall is that you're spending today's TIF dollars under a current statute that would say you can't do what is in front of you, not what's speculated about what could be in front of you, to Mr. Burson's point, i.e. clearing costs or maybe some other things. I don't know if this could be argued as support of a convention center. There are some things you can maybe finesse into. I'm just not aware of them. And they are certainly not presented here today. That's a fact. And so where does that leave you is you are committing to spend dollars from today, not 2015, when you have the benefit of knowing what the statute says today, and you are given the opportunity to say no. That's where we are.
And if I am correct in this, we are not removing what we've already provided to them from a TIF perspective. We are just simply determining, here's your amount towards Tower 1 and here's your amount towards Tower 2.
Right.
We are not
just,
removing what has already been applied to them.
You're not disagreeing. You're not changing the agreement. You're simply saying, no, we're going to stick with what we got. That's why I can be so confident to say there's no way you could lose this lawsuit. You do not have to agree to an amendment to a contract ever. So that's a fact. Nobody can refute it. But what I would say too, because I don't ever know if I'm going to get another chance to speak, I like to try to provide solutions. And one of the things that Commissioner Burson said that has some merit, at least if this comes to a point where you can't figure out what to do, is he said, how do I know I'm going to get Tower 2? And I stand by my statement. That will never happen, and it's not speculation. It's based on 42 years of development experience. It will not happen. But if you want a guarantee, one way that you might do it is to say, okay, here's what we'll do. If we agree to this change, which again, don't recommend at all, but if you do, if you don't have Tower 1, Tower 2 done within 5 years, you go back to the original amount. Because in 5 years, from whenever today is, when they get Tower 1 done, there won't have been enough TIF generated to materially impact the amount you will actually spend. But it will put them on a time clock that says if Tower 2 isn't completed by 5 years, 7 years, whatever you think is a reasonable time, then that reduction automatically comes to what it would have been on Tower 1, and that's it. Don't know if it's financeable, not my issue, but that's a potential way to get some teeth in the Tower 2 argument.
I would like to do a baseball analysis. We have a guy on second base, Tower A, Tower 1. What's the chance of him getting a home run and getting around the base? Or you walk away and we don't get anything, we strike out and go home. So I think that I'm leaning towards, and I think, Clifford, your good suggestion, we put teeth in it, but we got a man on second base. There's a chance he's going to score and win us a game. But without it, we don't have anybody on base.
Let me ask you this. I hate to be
If I answer a little bit about those two things.
I'm sorry?
If my answer about a comment from, go ahead, please.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Just for clarification purposes, on the interpretation of the TIF, when Mr. Shepherd said that we will spending city taxes, we are generating new city taxes. Basically, what the city is doing with the TIF is reinvesting a portion of the 100% new taxes that are created. It is not that you are spending or authorizing to spend money that is no new money that is coming. Even better than that is 85% of that money you are giving as an incentive to things may happen, and the city will be keeping 15% of that for a short period of time. Thereafter will be 100% new taxes, fresh money to the city. That's common for the record. And Mr. Burton, please, your question.
No, I was just gonna, you know, I think that we should have a clause in this agreement, if it's approved, that if you don't start the second tower, it reverts back to the $8.5 million for the first tower. And I would think, 7 years after the first tower is completed, if you haven't started the second tower, the tip amount will revert back to the original $8.5 million.
I think that is something that sounds fair.
I say 7 years.
It sounds fair. 7 years is the time frame the original agreement has in place to break ground on the second tower.
Yeah.
I think that is plenty enough time to do it. And we combine, we are able to get the support from the city and make that happen. Most likely within that time frame should happen the second tower. I think that answer, Mr. Bochet, Mr. Borson.
So
Yeah.
you're telling me that's something you can live with?
We are committed to do it. We are committed to do it, and an agreement, I could say, is where any of the parties are happy, but it's an agreement.
So,
And
affirmative statement, yes or no?
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'll make a motion then that we commit $15 million to the first tower with the understanding that if the second tower is not started within 7 years of the first tower being completed, the tip amount will revert back to the original $8.5 million.
I'll second that. I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. And I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Commissioner Burson,
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins Brown,
No.
Commissioner Bochet,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
No.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonk.
No.
It's a tie.
So it fails.
Motion fails.
Madam Chair, if I could
Yes,
want to
sir.
say, well, I appreciate and support the efforts of Eduardo and Jaxie and your commitment to the city and the passionate argument you made here today. I'm just compelled to stand by the advice of our attorney.
Mr. Shepherd, you
Yes.
offered a solution.
I offered a solution that will try to guarantee that the $15 million doesn't get spent on one tower and you never see tower number 2. But again, I also said, I still don't recommend it because it is spending today's dollars under today's law, which does not apply.
And that was the motion that just failed, yeah.
Well, 3-3.
Well, the motion fails, but could you come back with another solution? So,
We
I
will
don't know.
certainly go back to the drawing board and see, and be in contact with Mr. Shepherd.
Thank you.
Okay,
That was a
I still don't see Director Scott.
I was told that she's on vacation. I think she forgot
Oh, okay, she forgot.
when she had this item put on the agenda.
Okay, all
can we
right.
table that to the next meeting?
Sure.
Yes, it would have to be taken to the next meeting. Agenda item 4.1.